I've had this 2021 Airstream Basecamp since February of 2024. In my last video, I shared the top 3 things I love about this rig. In this video, I'm going to share the 3 things that I find the most frustrating about owning this 2021 Airstream Basecamp as an RV noob. Let's talk about it. Hi everybody, I'm Bonnie. This is Overnoobin', and as an RV noob, I have to say that owning an RV is challenging. There are times where I feel like I am constantly on the struggle bus with this thing, and I want things to go well, and then they don't, and then I end up frustrated. So today, I'm going to share the top 3 things that I actually kind of hate about this 2021 Airstream Basecamp. Thing number 1 that I kind of don't love about this Airstream Basecamp is the USB ports. Now, as I film this, it is August 2025, so this might be an unfair criticism of this particular coach. But the USB ports are kind of terrible. To start with, they're all old school USB-A connections, and at this point in my life, all of my hookups are USB-C. I ended up buying adapters for all of my connections. That makes for a longer, slower, and clumsier charging situation for all of my electronics. I think the current Airstreams have at least one USB-C, so that's better. But in the 2021, it's all USB-A, and I hate it. Let's talk about placement of the USB ports. In a previous video, which is linked up here somewhere, I showed how to fix the USB port that's near the bed. You want to know why it broke? It's specifically because of that particular placement of that port. I had my fairy lights plugged in, I forgot they were plugged in, I popped my bed up, snapped the whole thing apart. Broke the fairy lights, broke the port, had to replace the whole thing. That was not even the first time I broke the fairy lights in the exact same situation. Now, you could argue that I kind of created that problem by doing a whole different bed setup where it's all one piece and flips up, but still it's kind of a weird spot because even before I did the bed modification, I was always forgetting that I had things plugged in there and I was always hitting it and ripping them out. It's just not a good placement for those ports. And what about power to the USB ports? Up here in the kitchen, we have what I like to call the towers of power. There are 2 right here, but in order to use these 2, I need to have shore power. So up here in the kitchen, I have 4 USB ports that I can never use when I'm boondocking. I have all this counter space and I can't really use any of the ports up here. Yes, I can install a larger inverter and maybe in the future. Before we get to the idea of spending a bunch more money to put a bigger inverter in here, I don't really get why the USB ports of all things are not hooked up to the 12-volt power. It just seems like a fail to me. To sort of try to navigate the situation, I ended up having additional USB ports installed underneath the bed. They are directly connected to the 12-volt power. So I have a little bit extra when I'm boondocking, but really that's a fail. Having this many USB ports in the coach is awesome. Not having them hooked up to 12-volt power, I'm not loving it. Thing number 2 that I kind of don't love about the Airstream Basecamp is that right there. That's the hatch door. It is one of the most unique things about the Airstream Basecamp, and quite frankly, one of the most frustrating. It has all these great little storage bins with the cargo nets, but the thing about the cargo nets is they break for everybody. Replacements can be found online, but that's the last thing you want to be doing if you're out on the road, relying on those areas for storage, because this is a very small coach. You have a limited storage capacity, and you need the storage you have to work. So the cargo nets on the hatch door are quite frustrating. There has to be a better solution. You know what else this hatch door does for everybody? It leaks. It leaks. It's such a common problem. Google it. It leaks for everybody. That being said, the dealership has a solution. When mine started leaking, I took it right to the dealership. They were able to fix it very quickly. So when the dealership applied the fix, I've never had it leak again. It's been wonderful. But the thing about the solution to that problem has made it so that I can't even open the door from the outside. That could be a lot about leverage and how tall I am versus where the door opens, but it's now so insulated that opening that hatch door from the outside is a real problem. I have to enter the coach, crawl across my bed, and always open it from the inside. For some people, this might not be a deal breaker, but again, this video is about the things I kind of don't love, and I kind of don't love that. I love that it doesn't leak, but I hate that the door's so freaking hard to open now. Popping in here in the middle of the video to remind everybody, if you like what you see, hit like, hit subscribe, check out the links in my description. All those things help the channel grow and will help keep me on the road. And y'all know I got some things coming, right? There's some cool trips coming. Stay tuned. Hit the bell so you know when the next video's dropping. I would really appreciate it, and it just helps the channel grow. And now for the number 1 thing I like the least about the 2021 Airstream Basecamp. I'm not mechanically inclined. Now I understand that's a me problem, not an Airstream problem, but when you own an RV, you have to learn very quickly to be pretty nimble with fixing things and DIYing things, and I am not your girl for that. I try really hard, I'll give it a shot, but there have been times where I've gotten in over my head. Remember the whole Sirocco fan install issue? That was supposed to have been an easy install, and it should have been an easy install, but because I'm learning as I go, sometimes I'm in over my head, and sometimes me trying to fix the problem creates a larger problem that wouldn't have been expensive the first time around, but because I made it worse, it's more expensive the second time. Even this week, the Airstream's going back to the dealership. The kitchen sink is leaking from underneath, and I bet I could figure it out, but I don't have that kind of time. And maybe this is an RV thing, but there always seems to be an issue right as I'm leading up to a trip, and I'm like, what's going on? Why now? Why does it always happen when I've got something going on? And why is this light making me look very strange and I didn't notice it before I started filming? Well, that's the light we have, so that's the light we're going with. It's ghostly. It's almost spooky season, right? For repairs, it is nerve-wracking to be a noob. Having an RV is expensive. Repairs are expensive. And if you've got some DIY skills, maybe you can fix all of this. Maybe it's not an issue for you, but as a noob without those skills, it is something to really keep in mind if you are shopping around and you're thinking about buying an RV. So yes, I absolutely love my Basecamp, but I'm also a realist, and there are specific things about this coach that I do not like. And now that I think about it, there is one thing I left off the list that's just kind of not a deal breaker, but kind of stinks, and it is the hot water heater. It would be nice to have a little bit more hot water when I'm taking a shower. Not a lot, just a little bit, so I wouldn't have to worry so much about getting all the shampoo out of my hair. Not a deal breaker. I don't hate it, so I didn't put it in the list. But honestly, it could be better. I like to keep it real, and having an RV is not all sunshine and roses. It is an expensive endeavor. Things are going to break, and you will be at a disadvantage if you're not a DIYer. The amount of times I've taken this thing to the shop, oh my God. And how many of them did I do to myself? Like, a lot of them. And it's okay, because at some point in life, everybody's been a noob at something. And it's okay to be annoyed with your very expensive purchase. Sometimes things do not live up to the expectations that you might have had at the beginning of your journey. And sometimes you just need an adapter to make the USB ports work. Thanks so much for watching to the end of this video. Remember to hit the like and subscribe. I hope you're out there living your best Jeep life, noobing your way through a new adventure today, and I'll see you in the next one.